And a good morning. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Art Lewis Show. We're going to learn about a marriage, sort of, a business marriage, between two well-known names in Michigan. And one of those names is Halo Burger, and the other, represented by a guest in studio who goes by the handle of Rhino, is Cops and Donuts. Rhino, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I wanted to do maybe a little history before we get into this joint venture the two of you are in. Cops and Donuts, to me, was a stroke of brilliance in naming a business.
Thank you.
Tell us how it got started. I think a lot of people have heard the story about the police and all of that, but how did it get started?
Sure. It was back in May of 2009. I was at the coffee round table at the Herrick House, and I heard that the Clare City Bakery was closing. That year, it would have been open for 113 years and would have been closing. So I went back to lunch at the police department. We had pizza from Busili's. We ripped off the top. We called up the current owner and says, "Is it really closing?" And they said, "Yes." We said, "Can we lease it with an option to buy?" And they said, "Yes." They gave us a figure. We did a little pie chart, and we put it all together in a matter of 2 weeks.
And there were, correct me if I'm wrong, 9 or 10
Nine.
of you?
Nine of us,
Nine
yes.
original? All police officers?
It was the entire...
All on the Mount Pleasant Police?
Clare City Police.
Clare City Police.
Yep.
Yeah, Mount Pleasant. Clare City Police.
Yeah. Yep. Clare City Police. It was everybody with a full-time check. 9 of us. And we had reserve officers that wanted to get in that were business owners and such, and they thought it was a great idea. And we said, no, we're going to limit it to the 9 full-time. And that's why we called ourselves the original 9, because I put it all together, and I didn't know. Maybe we'd need some more capital. Maybe we'd bring some of them in. But we had the original 9, and that's what we stuck with.
You know, you open up or you take over a shop in downtown Clare. Did you ever in your wildest dreams envision branching out like you have and now merging with another company?
I had dreams, and the guys all said I was crazy. But
they followed the leader.
they did follow the leader, and I think they're very happy today. So it worked out well. We were blessed.
How many of the 9 are still police officers?
Oh, boy. Myself, there's
so you're
3,
still
4.
working the department?
No. I'm trying to figure who's out.
Okay.
There's probably 4, I think.
That are still in uniform?
Still in uniform, yeah. There's only 1 left at the Clare Police Department, Dave Sod, and he's currently the chief of police.
Okay.
Yep,
That's nice to have the chief.
And another one's chief over in Coleman. One of them's down at Saginaw Tribal. One's down in Lansing Township. So I think that's the 4 that are still working. The others have retired.
And are all the 9 still involved in the business?
For PR and marketing, all 9 are still involved.
How about that?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and now that we brought on Ace, I don't know if we should joke around with it. Now we brought on a 10th one. Did we go from the 9 cops to the rescue to Michigan's 10 most wanted? Yeah. So we've done well when we play some of the twists on it. So we'll see how that one goes over.
You know, it was a genius of marketing.
Yeah, it sure was. Yeah, I couldn't believe that there had never been one. You know, there's a lot of things out there for firefighters, a lot of different firefighter things, but they just kind of shied away from it. And, the Cops and Donuts has been a joke forever, but nobody ever tried it.
It's been a joke.
Right, yeah, and nobody ever tried it.
Probably the reason, because it's been a joke.
Right, we took some heat in the beginning. Some of the younger cops didn't like that we took a badge and wrapped a donut around it for our logo. But once they found out what we were and what we were doing, they were pretty good about it.
Yeah, well, it brought the joke to life.
Sure did. Yes, it did.
In a way.
Yep.
What did you guys know about the donut business other than eating them?
That was pretty much it. Yeah, that's all we knew about it when we started it. We intended to hire people to do things, which we did. There were times it was busy in the beginning, and we all kicked in and helped out, especially with the punchki, however you'd like to say it, the first few years. Everybody got involved helping out with that. But this is our 17th year. We've got things smoothed out pretty good.
Well, every time I get to Clare, I have to go in.
Appreciate that.
And every time I do, I have to wait.
Well,
but
yeah,
it's worth
we move along pretty good. It's not a long
Actually,
wait.
you do.
Yeah.
And you've got, there's a place to sit. There's plenty of room in there, isn't there?
Yeah, we have 3 storefronts that we opened up all together. We originally started with just the bakery. We have the buildings on both sides. We built on the back as much as we could. We bought the building across the alley for storage, and Yeah, we've grown it as large as we could, and that's why it's time to move to the next level.
So the next level, it seems on one hand to be a strange marriage. On the other hand, it doesn't.
Right.
Halo Burgers. How did this come about?
Well, 2 years ago, our group got together and we decided it's time to start looking for an exit plan because it just doesn't happen. When we're ready to say, hey, I'm ready to do something else, well, you got to start planning for that. So 2 years ago, we listed with a firm and put it up for sale. And we really didn't want to just sell out. We want to keep what's going and we want to make sure that it grows. So the firm that we hired up until the day of closing, which was on the 23rd of May, he was even contacted that morning by it was nearly 100 different people or companies that reached out. And we did not go with the most money. We went with the best fit. And he really did a good job of weeding them out and bringing them to us, vetting them. And Ace that we found, we were blessed when we started, and I believe we're blessed moving on.
So we get the order of flow then. So Halo Burger is the buyer?
Well, actually, Ace is the buyer. And after he started negotiations
Ace
with us.
Ace is his name now.
Ace is his name.
Achilles. Everybody has a nickname. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. His name is Achilles.
Okay.
And I'm probably torturing the name. So he goes by Ace. We were in negotiations with Ace when then he worked out a deal and purchased Halo Burger because I think he's seen the two iconic businesses, Clear City Bakery.
So he purchased both?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Recently, he's a new owner of Halo Burger. So whatever you've thought of Halo Burger here in the last several years, he's a new owner just in December. The Birch Run location, the bathrooms were just all redone. He's freshening the building up, doing some work at all of them, bringing back some of the procedures for when the Thomas family had it. And actually, he's okay with me announcing it now. He's only had it 6 months, but he's opening a new location in Clinton Township this month.
So let's look at, we'll start in Clare because that's your big one.
Right.
Are you going to be serving Halo Burgers in Clare?
There's no plans of that. No, the press kind of took this and did this merger thing. What it is the gentleman that purchased us.
So it's just two businesses. He owns them.
He owns several businesses, and that's two of his biggest ones.
So Cops and Donuts will remain Cops and Donuts. Halo Burger remains Halo Burger.
Yes, and what you will see most likely is a Halo Burger and a Cops and Donuts in the same building, such as you see some of these other combos where there's some sort of a coffee on one side and some sort of a sandwich on the other side with double drive-thrus and such. That's his vision. And that's my that's why he fits so well. That's part of my dream moving on, and the guy's dreams. If we could make it go bigger, that's where it's at.
So it's been sold, but you're still there. So
yeah, we're still
who's
involved.
Doing what?
Well, marketing and PR. Still involved. You'll see me there every day. Things in Clare are not going to change. That's important.
And, it would seem to me when I first heard this, I couldn't picture Halo Burgers coming into a Cops and Donuts location.
No.
But I could picture Cops and Donuts going into Halo Burger. It's much easier to transport donuts than it is to put a kitchen in to make burgers.
That's exactly right. Yep, and that's what the plan is moving forward. Yep, and he's looking, the original Halo Burger closed in 22 in downtown Flint. They had a rough struggle during COVID, and then when they came to do this, they redid the street out front, the bricks, and they closed up and they started some remodeling, and the previous owner just never opened it. So Ace is looking real hard at getting that location and reopening so that we would have the original Halo Burger open, and we will always have the original Cops and Donuts in downtown Clare going.
Wow. All right, we're going to take a break, come back. We're talking to Rhino about Cops and Donuts and Halo Burger and the joint ownership now. And we will be back to do more of that in just a couple of moments. Let me take a moment to talk about sleep. How was yours last night? We're asked to do more for less these days. So when you go to bed and you theoretically spend a third of your life there, you need quality sleep, and you can get it with a quality mattress from Sanitary Mattress. Now, you can visit all the so-called sleep stores, or you can rest assured the mattress you're using is manufactured right here in the Great Lakes Bay region to your specifications. Your dollars are spent and they stay right here in our local economy. Your time in bed may be cut short by today's demanding world, but don't be fooled. You can still get a quality good night's sleep on a Sanitary Mattress. and they feature a 1-hour delivery window of your mattress to your home. If you have an RV or a boat, Sanitary Mattress will custom make a mattress for you to your exact size, something the box stores can't do. Visit the Sanitary Mattress factory and showroom, serving this area since 1935. Set your GPS to 5343 Janes Road in Saginaw, just east of the Harry Brown Airport. Visit them on the web at sanitarymattress.com or give them a call at 989-753-1757.
Patrick was way behind.
Hi, we're back with you here on the Art Lewis Show. In studio with me is Rhino from Cops and Donuts, talking about the new ownership of Cops and Donuts together with Halo Burger. We had a question from a caller. And by the way, if you have a question for Rhino about Cops and Donuts and Halo Burger, you can give us a call, 989-752-6111. The question is, a DARE officer who is one of the original owners, is he still affiliated with Cops and Donuts, and what is his name?
It's Alan White. He's also an author of his own books, and he goes by Bubba. We all have our nicknames. And the unique thing, I'm glad that question came in. Today is National Bubba Day. And Bubba it's true story. And today, Bubba is down at our central precinct in Mount Pleasant. They were doing a meet and greet. I think it's probably over, but he may still be there. It was an early morning meet and greet. And for National Bubba Day, he'll probably stop back at Clare and be there for a bit. So, yes, Alan White was the DARE officer for 17 years or however long the program went, and he goes by Bubba with us, and he's still around.
And we should point out that you don't have stores, you have precincts.
Right. We have headquarters, precincts,
and
and substations. That's currently the structure. And then in my dream, or our dream, we also were going to have mobile response units and crime scenes, and we never got those going. A mobile response unit would be like a food truck, and a crime scene, we did do several of those. It's a pop-up tent where we would be out at something, and yeah, so we've had a good time with all of it.
You think all that'll continue?
I believe it will, yes. And so much so that one thing that we never carried on with was we always just stayed with our Cops Coffee. We have morning shift, midnight shift, and off-duty decaf. I think you may see a line of cappuccinos coming.
Oh.
Cappuccinos.
So, obviously you guys, you were in law enforcement. You weren't donut makers.
30 years, right.
He's buying Halo Burger, but he's not a burger maker.
Right.
So
he's an entrepreneur.
Does the staff stay in place?
Yes.
People running Cops and Donuts still will be running Cops and Donuts?
Yep, it's all the same. Nothing has changed. Just he came in, and he's going to take us to the next level. And same way over at Halo Burger. I don't know for sure if all of the staff changed, but I know much of the staff stayed at Halo Burger, and they're getting that whipped back into shape. It needs to be back like the way the Thomas family ran it.
And we were talking during the break, a lot of people hear sale and they think immediately of corporate America.
Right.
And this is not.
This is not
really,
it.
Truly a local Michigander who has the wherewithal to do it.
That's right. He's much younger than I am, which is good, and he's a self-made entrepreneur born and raised right here in Michigan.
So I want to talk about something else, Rhino. I want to take you out of the Cops and Donuts just for a minute. And the reason I want to do it is in this day and age when you talk to police departments, and I talk to a lot of them, I'm co-chair of the Crime Council here in Saginaw, everybody's having trouble recruiting to some degree. It all happened particularly after George Floyd. From your standpoint, first, what drew you into law enforcement?
Yeah.
We're going to get serious now, folks.
Yeah, sure. I was a troubled youth, just like many, back in the 70s and 80s, and my brothers got into law enforcement. And when I became 16 years old, they actually started in Clare the police cadet unit. And it was a lot better for me to hang out at the police department and do that type of stuff than run on the streets and getting in trouble. And I just fell in love with it. My family was in it, and I fell in love with it.
And how long have you been an officer?
Yeah, I retired in 2013 just to do the Cops and Donuts gig full time. I was 50, and I did 30 years. And then plus I had all those volunteer years. I was a reserve officer and a reserve deputy. Started out as a police cadet at 16. So that's all I've known since 1979 until I got into the donuts.
So what do you tell someone, a young man, young woman, who maybe they're looking for that career. Why law enforcement?
Well, makes you feel good. You get out there, you're doing things, and when you help people out, you get a crash, you get this. Yeah, there's times you got to do things that upset people, but overall, it's the adrenaline rush of the excitement, and then afterwards, when it's, maybe it was a crash and you helped a lot of people out or things like that, it makes you feel good.
I don't think I've ever talked to an officer that didn't use the word help people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's really part of it, isn't it?
Oh, it totally is. That's what it's about.
Serve the community. Where are you from?
Born and raised in Clare.
So you're
Yep.
from Clare
Yep.
originally, so you just stayed home.
I was fortunate. I graduated high school back in 1981, and all we heard was go to college, go to college. Most of my friends moved away, went to college. Most of them got jobs, not all of them. I was fortunate. I stayed back and worked and got into police work. My community was good to me, and now I like giving back to the community.
Where'd you go to the academy at that time?
Here at Delta.
You did go to Delta?
Yep.
Yeah, it was the
And
early days.
Yeah, and for those kids that are out there right now, you might not be doing well in school. I did poor. I graduated high school with a 2.0. I graduated out of Delta Police Academy, number 1 in my class. So when you get into something that you enjoy, you prepare yourself.
It is funny when you find something you love,
Mm-hmm.
you really make it work.
That's right.
You really make it work.
Yep, true story.
I just, it just worries me, the image that policing took over the last several years.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're seeing a turnaround. Have you sensed it?
Yeah, I don't see the officers nearly as much, and I don't watch the news like I used to. But I'm getting the feeling, yes. I know that people are wanting to get back into it. I hear in the news that recruitment in the military is way up. I know there are more people young in Clare that want to get into law enforcement. So I think it's done a turnaround.
Yeah, I've talked to a couple of department chiefs where, maybe they had 4 slots in the academy. They were filling them, and they had 8 or 9 or 10 people apply for them, where in the past they'd had trouble finding the 4.
Right. And back when I came out of high school, there were no jobs. You had to put yourself through the academy. It was rare to get put through by the police department. I was the last one at the Clare County Sheriff Department actually put me through, and I was the last one for years and years and years to be put through by a department. It was just guys and gals out there putting themselves through. But now we're back to that where they're putting them through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the departments are.
Yes, they are.
Problem is people were stealing from each other.
That is happening. Yeah, they're jumping ship to go for the bigger dollar. Yep.
I can remember not too long ago, maybe 10, 20 years ago, every time you heard a police officer leaving, he was on out to Las Vegas because they were hiring like crazy.
Sure. Yep, that's true.
So, all right, we're going to take a break, come back. We're talking to Rhino from Cops and Donuts, and we'll talk more about Cops and Donuts and Halo Burger when we return.
We arrested and such like that, but it really went over well. There were some we'd arrest them on the weekend, we'd have them in the next week, and the night we're working with them, it's Officer Rainerson, and then they come in with their family. Hey, Rhino.
Hey, Rhino.
Yeah. So it was a good split between the two.
So I am sitting, folks, in front of me with a box of Cops and Donuts, all kinds. I'd eat them all if I could.
There's a lot of sugar there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So tell me this, Rhino. If you had to pick one donut and say this one is the donut that everybody wants, what would it be?
The number one seller
Yeah.
is a custard-filled Long John with chocolate frosting.
I knew it.
Yeah. Our most talked about, Pure Michigan and everybody, our most talked about is the Bacon Squealer. And that's the Long John with no filling. It's got maple frosting and 2 strips of bacon on it. That's what's most talked about. I think there might have something to do with the bacon part of it.
You think? Jeez.
Yep.
Who creates the donuts? Who created the various
The
types?
different ones. We purchased all the formulas, recipes, if you want to call it, when we started, and we make everything the way we did. You can top them and fill them many, many different ways. That one that we call the Bacon Squealer, that was actually somebody coming in asking for it, and out in the northwest part of the country, they called it like a lumberjack or something, and the guys working out in the woods and would get those to get some protein in the morning, quick breakfast on the run. And so we adopted that. The Deputy, that's a peanut butter cream filled with chocolate frosting and a few little peanuts on top. We stole that one away from the Mackinac Bakery. They had that peanut butter one, and then we called it the Deputy. And the reason we called it a Deputy is the color of the cream inside and the chocolate it was the color of a deputy's uniform. So, Yep. And then the felony fritter. That's a big one. The apple fritter, we call that the felony fritter.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because you have your headquarters, your precincts, your substations, but all the baking is done in Clare. Is that right? So it's all then distributed to your various other locations?
That's correct. Yep. We went through a period where we tried to buy some other bakeries and make product in other locations, and we thought that was going to be great. But we bought old bakeries with old equipment.
Oops.
And it works, but everything's different. And the other thing that we learned, we were cops. We aren't scientists. The water is different in every community. The barometric pressure. All that makes a difference when you're doing that, because these are yeast-raised donuts, and that all makes a difference, and it makes them fry a little different. It makes everything different. So people want everything to be consistent. So we brought everything into Clare. We used to have the traffic stop diner, and we took that out because we needed all that space to produce more.
It's interesting because people don't realize the weather has an impact on what you do. There's a shining example of that in New Orleans, where the poor boy bread that they use, can't duplicate it anywhere else. It's because of the atmosphere in New Orleans.
Right, and probably the water. And
I've tried. I've got the recipe, and I've tried making it. It doesn't come out the same.
No, there's a lot of truth to that. And that's what gets us to where we're at today. It's many, many communities reach out every year to us wanting us to come to it. Well, we're at max production in the summertime in Clare. We've been that way since pre-COVID. And so it's time to grow it, and that's with our exit plan and such like that. It works out great because he's got the same vision we do. He's looking at doing a commissary bakery.
So a commissary bakery where he wants one central...
There may be more, if it gets big enough, but do a central big bakery that then feeds out to the other ones. Clare will always be making something. Some of the others may make some things, but...
I have to ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the success of Cops and Donuts,
mm-hmm.
have you ever thought about, or will this new owner, Ace, ever think about franchising?
He may. Right now, he owns chains. They're all his own. They're not big. But I wouldn't be too surprised that in a few years that might be a possibility.
You guys ever think about it?
We did. We hired a gentleman. That was back when we went through our tough time. We hired a gentleman and went to go big. We bought several locations, and he was supposed to work on franchising it. So it's very expensive. That never happened. So then we backed away from it when he left.
But you weren't afraid of trying.
No.
I mean, that's really...
Yeah.
That's how you become successful as an entrepreneur, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. Yep. We've got a book out, the Cops and Donuts book. You can get it at copsbook.com, and that's a tell-all that came out in late 22, and it's the good and the bad and the ugly. And, yeah, we made mistakes, and I'm glad we did, because if we didn't, maybe we still have those ahead of us. But I think we learned pretty good from the mistakes we made, and everything's moving forward pretty good.
One more segment with Rhino from Cops and Donuts coming up after these notes.
Give the gift of health this
Back with you here on WSGW, the final segment of the Art Lewis Show with Rhino from Cops and Donuts, fabulous organization that's really, if you're looking for a play on words, it couldn't have been better. I mean, it was a genius of a name.
It worked out well, yeah, and it came from son of Brian Gregory, Dogman. We were meeting at the bakery before we opened, and I wanted to get a website purchased before somebody found out about it. And we were 911 Donuts, just different things and different names, Cop Shop Donuts. And all of a sudden, Brendan says, we didn't even think he was listening. He says, "Hey, Dad, kids like playing cops and robbers? Yeah, well, why don't you call it Cops and Donuts?" And bam, the light went off, and I bought the website and never looked back.
It's got to be the oldest joke in law enforcement.
Sure. And that started, because
because it wasn't a joke. Cops ate donuts.
Well, they did, but the thing was, the midnight shifts in the cities, they'd be walking the beat, and they didn't all have patrol cars. So you need to get in somewhere. Well, the bars close at 2:00, and they're making donuts, so they're in the back of the bakery,
Yeah.
And everybody
Yeah.
didn't have a phone, so they'd hear somebody get home drunk and be banging somebody around, and Mom would say to Billy, "Run down to the bakery and get the police."
Think of how that's changed, except in the major cities today. They don't walk the beats anymore.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
lost that. We've lost that personalization of that officer,
Yeah.
because for most people, their interaction with police is usually negative. It's either a traffic stop, an accident, some traumatic, they're a victim, what have you.
Right,
It's usually not a good day.
right, yeah.
And yet the old beat cop was a neighborhood fixture.
Right. We're fortunate in small town America like Clare. Our officers still get out and they come in the bakery. They get out, they see kids playing somewhere. They pull in and they get
do,
out.
but the patrol cars are their office,
Yeah.
but
Oh, it
they
sure
make
is.
the stops,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
really is important.
Yeah. But like you're saying, the beat cop, there was many officers back with the beat, never had a car.
Right.
That's all they did is walk. And you don't have any of that
Well,
anymore.
I grew up in New York City. That's all I ever knew.
Yeah. And they may in New York, I'm
Oh, they
sure
still
with,
have beat cops.
yeah, with the number of officers,
Oh,
they can't have
yeah.
enough patrol cars for all of them.
Well, they could, but it'd be very expensive.
Yes.
But, you knew the patrol cars, but you didn't know those guys. You knew the officers walking the beat.
Right.
And they knew you, and they knew your parents.
Yep. That's gone now pretty much. But,
Yeah. But those were the days. I mean,
Yes, they
that's
were.
how I grew up, and and I really think that's where my affection for policing came in. My dad was a federal agent. I never wanted to follow in his footsteps. I never wanted to be in law enforcement, but I always loved being around law enforcement. And early on in my career, I learned to befriend law enforcement. And not only because it was the right thing to do, but they began to trust me, and I would hear things that others might not hear.
sure.
Because it's a relationship. And I tell people, when you're in the media and everybody thinks, oh, well, it's a piece of cake. Well, it's not.
Yep.
You have to earn the respect.
True
You
story.
don't demand it. You earn it.
Right. And back to the beat cop, the nice thing about that is when we started the bakery and the bakeries, we have a lot of round tables that come in every day. So that's our community policing right there. We get to meet with them at the round tables. They drive in from a distance. Steve Moline lives in Midland, Michigan, but was born and raised in Clare, and he drives up multiple times a week to either come into the 505 Cafe or into the Cops and Donuts at the round table. And us cops are there. Some of us are retired, but the full-timers that are still working come in. So we still get that interaction
Kind
at
of
the
a gab
community
fest.
level. Yes, yep, still get that community. They'll run these coffee with a cop deals 3 times a year.
Yep.
You can come to Cops and Donuts and do it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it humanizes that officer.
Yes.
And I think it's important today.
Yep. It
And
is.
the other thing that is positive, at least to me anyway, is the amount of females in uniform today. That's
There are a
grown
lot more.
exponentially. I mean,
Yes, it has.
both in the state police and local police departments, and I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Hmm.
And the department needs to reflect the makeup of its community.
Oh, it sure does. Yep.
It's
Yep.
really
And most communities, the way that the community reacts is a reaction of how the police act. And I truly believe that. The towns that are calm and nice and all that is a reflection of how their police are. Some of these other towns that are maybe a little rough on the edges, maybe the police are a little rough on the edges. I truly believe that.
Yeah, that's very possible. Very possible. But the donuts smooth it all out.
It sure does. It sweetens it up. Yep.
I won't ask how many pounds of sugar you use.
Oh, boy. Michigan sugar. I heard a story about Michigan sugar when I was driving over. But we use a lot of Michigan sugar. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
They're-
but you buy it in 100-pound bags or whatever.
50-pound bags.
50-pound
Yeah.
bags.
We buy thousands of pounds a week. Yeah.
I would have to think so.
Sugar's not good for the body, but in moderation, a little treat now and then, and we go through a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and your stuff seems to be bigger than everybody else's.
We've never cheated on it. We've got good filling. There's a good
Yep.
size to it, and yeah. Yep.
Well, I have to tell you that the Long John with the chocolate and the custard filling is my favorite.
They're very
Bar
good. I enjoy
none.
them.
Bar none. I mean, that is the top of the line
Yeah. That's our number one seller at all locations.
everywhere. Huh?
Everywhere. Yep. Now after that, number 2 might be different in different areas, but that's number 1 everywhere.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So ownership has changed, right? Closing's been done.
It was done on the 23rd of May.
How long before you maybe see different things happen? Or do you not expect too much to happen?
Well, Ace always says he likes to just not do a lot of things for 12 months, but then he says maybe 6 months.